slides, even he has 5, and I'm coming back to the space that we come from. Does social media offer an effective alternative is a discussion that we're having today. Unfortunately for all of us, this is the image about the media, that anything that comes out is paid for. To an extent, we all know it is true, and what we need to discuss is why has this happened. Public discourse is what you heard him talk about, and the sad truth is that this is a fact, right? Why does this happen? Each of us has our views. We, as people who have written on business, I mean, when I say we, I think Debashish and I agree on this. We believe that corporate ownership of media is part of the problem. The corporate ownership does not mean that they have to buy over a big TV channel. That is very recent, and it's the last way in which a corporate actually owns, because they don't need to come up front and own anything. I don't know why they have done it. I think these are lessons that the smarter people would have learnt in the 80s and in the 90s. You had Raymond's, which set up a paper called the Indian Post. It was a great paper, and they realized that it's just too much trouble, because every time somebody wrote something good or bad, so if it was good, there were people whom it was written about who had enemies who would call up and say, why are you plugging XYZ? And if it was bad, why are you hitting me? And it began to affect their business. The paper closed down pretty fast. Then you had the Ambanis, who set up Observer. I worked there for 6 months. The paper was never launched when I was there. I moved away after 6 months of being jobless, as in no work, but we earned a salary because they couldn't get it off the ground. They started the paper. They used it to counter Indian Express when Indian Express was at war, and it virtually shut itself down. And the same people who we thought had learnt a lot of lessons about the mistakes of owning a big newspaper have now spent humongous amounts of money buying a big TV channel. We don't have the answers. We are looking at it. We don't know where it's headed. But otherwise, corporate ownership of the media is hidden. It's behind the scenes. It's indirect, and the control works in different ways. The most effective way of controlling the media, of course, is the Neera Radia way, which is that one PR person controls the large budgets of corporates and decides how it will make them dance for every bit of advertising. And when you are in a situation where the largest, or it's not the largest, the most profitable media group in the country says that we are not in the business of news, we are in the business of making money on advertising, and everything is for sale, everything can have a private treaty, and especially things like sports and Bollywood is just there to be bought and purchased. When you are in that kind of a situation, you know the kind of power that is concentrated in the hands of one person who is the so-called communication expert. Now, how does this person work? Simple way would be to say, I will give you money for your large events. I will give you money in the form of advertisements. I will give you money to all those little ads that you see on your websites. So whichever the medium, they will come and give you advertisements. Straightforward, okay? Nothing wrong with that. That is the traditional classical way. The other way that they run is by saying, we will deny you the advertisements unless you plant a story. So today, you can't get an ad unless it is tied up to a story. You want a campaign, promise us how many column centimeters of news space or television time are you going to give us. So if there is, as she called it, G37, why does G37 happen? Because there are just a few people who are controlling the entire media. Each of them has got maybe 4 or 5 people who are their trusted people, who will write columns, who will be there in the newspapers, who will be on television every single day, no matter what the subject. They are the experts, because somebody who's pulling the strings control these puppets and decide that this is my man who's going to go on. And we know that channels even offer them what will be the debate, what will be the tone of the debate, who will be the panelists, and a list of questions. What will be the question that's asked? So, denial of access. Chitra talked about access journalism. The opposite, denial of access by denying advertising revenue by denying access itself. You are badly damaged, your reputation is badly damaged. I will just not give you a chance to come on television and say anything. I will not give you a chance to defend yourself. That is the opposite of access journalism, and that is controlled by big money. And that works just as effectively. The third line of this denial of access. Today, believe it or not, even regulators use it. The government uses it. You write against us, you don't get the foreign trips, you don't get the goodies, you will not be allowed anywhere near North Block, you will not get to meet anybody. We have been real victims of denial of access, but we had to find a way to work around it. And I think the way we worked around it is to say we talk to the people directly. So if I have the facts, I have a case, and I am writing it, you can deny it till you're blue in the face and it doesn't matter, because I have a fact that you are not performing. Okay, I'm able to prove it with data. You have the choice then, and luckily this is the new world for you, technology. I have your mobile number, I have your email, I write to you and I say you have the opportunity to get back to me within 24 hours and give us your side. I'm here to listen. I want to check it out. But if you don't respond, it is your problem. When you respond, you would notice many of Money Life stories will have a last line which says, we have written to them. If and when they respond to us, we will add it to the story. Because there was a time when I started in journalism, and I'm sure she faced it. I remember one time when I was doing a story and I was supposed to call Nimesh Kampani of JM Financial, because my boss said, unless you get a quote from him, we are not going to publish it. You have to get the other side. I spent an entire 24 hours, apart from not disturbing the office in non-working hours, every 15 minutes I called up the office to say, will he speak to me? Okay, it's only after 22 days of doing that my boss finally said, okay, I know he doesn't want to talk, so now I'll carry the story. I mean, we are really lucky. If we were still in that era, I think we would have been destroyed, because we wouldn't have been able to survive as journalists. We would not have been able to provide the evidence that we gave them a chance to have their say. Today, thanks to mobiles, thanks to emails, we are able to send the email and say, it's out there, you want to respond, tell us, otherwise nothing is going to stop our story. Just as it doesn't stop it on Twitter, it doesn't stop it on the websites. Does it mean we are not harassed? We are harassed one heck of a lot. We get a lot of legal notices, but we are usually on strong ground, so it's usually a threat. So what happens is we have the weapon of working against the gaming of public discourse. Our problem is that we are just too small. That problem also slowly, again, due to social media, probably effective use of social media, we're able to reach out larger and larger number of people, at least to tell them that there is something different written somewhere. There is an analysis, a point of view, a thought that is different somewhere. If you are smart enough to make the effort to go and find it, if you are smart enough to tell other people that this exists, but if you don't, then people like us remain small. As it is, the funding is low. What we lose enormously is not having the big resources in announcing or making our presence known to people. Enormous pressure in how's gaming of public discourse working. Why does G37 happen? Because big money systematically ensures that anybody who has a voice that is different is out of mass media. The columns are controlled by the same CEOs. When we started in journalism, media was proud to create domain experts. So there was somebody who would be a domain expert in aviation, someone who was very good at agriculture, somebody like me would know a lot and about people in the capital markets and look at it as a day-to-day coverage. Today, we are not interested in domain experts. We would rather have the CEOs of companies write. Okay. Why will we have the CEOs of companies write? Because they also have a 300 crore advertising budget. So they are the gurus. They are the fount of all the knowledge. And if you look at any newspaper today, you look at any debate, whether it is a budget debate or whether it is your credit policy, it is packed with expert opinion that comes from corporate India. The very CEOs, consultants, chief executives with the largest advertising budget have a voice as columnists and experts. Why do they want that voice? Because they think Delhi is listening to them. Is Delhi listening to them? Yes, Delhi listens only to them. In fact, we've been arguing for the last 4 or 5 years that we we the people, everybody here are the largest stakeholders in the system no matter what. You talk about a capital market, people who invest are the largest stakeholders. You talk about banking, people who have bank deposits are the largest stakeholders. You talk about advertising, seminars that happen, people who go and watch the movies are the stakeholders, not the few directors who are making those movies. They're not going to reach that 100 crore unless you and me buy a ticket and go and watch it. But every few days you have a summit that happens. An insurance summit, a banking summit, a FICCI summit where the Shah Rukh Khans will speak. Tell me one summit that even spends 15 minutes on a panel discussion that listens to people like you and me. There is not even a single slot. And this is carried forward in Delhi. When there is budget discussions, the finance ministry will call a FICCI, a CII, PhD Chamber of Commerce, Bombay Chamber of Commerce, some advertising, somebody. But do we, the people, have a voice even as a group, even through an NGO? Not at all. Unless you are an NGO which is a chosen voice of the government, promoted by the government, part of some national council that is set up to please some political leader, then you may be invited. But otherwise, you and me are out of the public discourse because we have allowed it to happen. We don't ask, we don't even ask our political leaders, how is it that we never get spoken to? We don't, and we keep quiet. The government, like I said, plays along. The flip side, okay, why would people be foolish like we are? I mean, we have no answer actually, because this is what is the flip side. Access, invites to select briefings in government, all the invites to state dinners, all the foreign junkets, the exclusive stories. How many of you have read Sanjay Baru's book? The entire book is about how he was my editor in Financial Express. Just go back and read the book a little differently, and journalism works. Take a look at it again and you will see why nobody wants to be on the other side. Why? What is the advantage of being on the other side? Very, very little. And when, we have a third dimension now. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about the fat salaries and people like us, losing jobs overnight. There's no job security in journalism. So if you say, get your child to be an idealistic journalist, the 2 times that I left really large newspapers, I actually had to worry about where my EMI payment is going to come from. And this is not something that the top journalists work. What do I get agitated about today? Not that we chose the kind of journalism we wanted to do, but because we had this IITian who came in the public domain and he said every journalist is a chore. Okay, and he got enormous television time on every channel to sit there and say, sab chor hai, sab chor hai. The fact is, it's very nice to say sab chor hai. What is it that you do in order to ensure that there is honest journalism in the country? Do you want to support it? No. Do you want it raining free on you? Yes. If you don't take into account the fact, why did we show you that, why were we so thrilled when Media Crook sent us that 3-minute clip about what is television? Because you are going to sit night after night watching them peddling lies, tweeting about it, but not sitting down and saying that no, there is another side, there is honest journalism happening, and we want to take a conscious decision to support it. And that support it doesn't mean, will you web stream free? Will you allow access free? Will you give me the magazine free? No, those are the questions we get asked all the time. But life doesn't work like that. Real journalism needs an organizational structure. Real journalism needs revenues in order to pay salaries. And free information on the social media is for discussion and debate. But if you don't like paid media, if you want real journalism, then please be conscious that A, you will have to find out where real journalism is happening, and you will have to make the effort to support it, which means putting your hand in your pocket occasionally. Thank you.